happens when a country says no to the most powerful nation in the world? No to its money, no to its rule, no to its pressure. Does the world respect that choice? Or does it punish it? History gives us two powerful examples. One is a small island, the other is an oil-rich nation. And yes, that's Cuba and Venezuela. This is not just about politics, this is a story about power, pressure, and what happens when countries refuse to fall in line. Let's go back to the year 1959. At that time, Cuba was very closely tied to the United States. American companies owned land, businesses, casinos, almost everything. But inside Cuba, people were angry. They felt their country was being controlled from outside. Then came a revolution. A man named Fidel Castro overthrew the US-backed government. Once in power, Castro made big changes. American-owned businesses were taken over by the Cuban government, casinos were shut down, foreign control was reduced, and most importantly, Cuba chose socialism. For the United States, this was a big shock, but it became even more serious when Cuba got closer to the America's biggest enemy at that time, the Soviet Union. Now, from Washington's point of view, this was not just disagreement, this felt like a direct threat. In 1961, the United States decided to act, but it did not attack openly. Instead, the Central Intelligence Agency planned a secret mission. They trained thousands of Cuban exiles. The plan was simple: invade Cuba, remove Castro, and change the government. The invasion landed at a place called the Bay of Pigs, but the plan failed badly. Within 3 days, Cuban forces defeated the attackers, the invasion collapsed, and the United States was deeply embarrassed. After this failure, America changed its strategy. No more invasions, no more soldiers. Instead, the US used economic power. A full trade embargo was imposed on Cuba. This meant no trade with the US, no easy access to money, no normal banking or finance. This punishment continued not for years but for decades, for more than 60 years. Not because Cuba attacked the US, but because Cuba refused to obey. Cuba survived with help from other countries, support came from Russia, China, and many others. Even today, most countries in the United Nations are against the embargo, but the embargo remains, and ordinary Cuban people continue to feel its effects. Now let's move forward in time. The Cold War is over, the Soviet Union is gone, but power politics did not disappear. In 1999, Venezuela elected a new president, Hugo Chávez. His message was very clear. Venezuela's oil should benefit Venezuelans, not foreign companies. This was important because Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. Chávez took control of all oil companies, reduced foreign influence, and built ties with countries that were not close to the US. After Chávez died, Nicolás Maduro continued the same policies. Once again, Washington reacted, but this time there were no troops. This was a different kind of war, an economic one. The United States imposed sanctions. This included freezing Venezuelan money abroad, blocking trade, cutting access to global banks, and political pressure. In 2019, the US even recognized another person as Venezuela's president instead of Maduro. This was an attempt to change the government without using weapons. The result was devastating. The economy collapsed, food became scarce, medicines were hard to find, millions of people left the country just to survive. Just like Cuba, Venezuela did not stand alone. It received support from countries like Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, and even Cuba. The battlefield was different, but the struggle was the same. Now look at the pattern. Cuba faced invasion, Venezuela faced economic choking. Cuba was punished with guns, Venezuela was punished with sanctions. Different eras, different methods, but the same message. If you defy global power, you will pay a price. This is not about defending governments, this is about a question history keeps asking. Who decides a nation's future? Its people or global power? Cuba and Venezuela chose independence, and for that choice, they were never forgiven. History doesn't always arrive with bombs. Sometimes it arrives with sanctions as well. For more global stories like these, subscribe to File in Media.